Hi there, welcome back to my channel. All week long, the creative design team are sharing scrapbook layouts created from a card inspiration. We did that last year and I really loved how my layout turned out, so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do once again Christmas photos. These are photos from 2022 and I'm going to take these photos, I'm going to select a card inspiration or two, and I'm going to translate it into a scrapbook page. Now, if you haven't heard the great news, Creative Design Team's 31-day of Christmas card is now open for registration. This event is truly like no other. You will have access to 31 days of creativity. So that's 31 cards, 31 days, and of course we're going to sprinkle in more inspiration. You can grab your event ticket. I will list all of the important information down below. For today's project, I'm going to go back to last year's content. And I shared this before. I put all of my printed handouts in a little book that I buy at the dollar store. And what I like about it is that it's open at the top, and when I do a technique along with the teacher, I can add some of the pieces in here, and then when I have time, I can come back and create more cards. So when I was looking at our book from last year, I was flipping through. There's so many great cards. A lot of them I did get a chance to do last year. See here, I've got a couple of circles from this class. And I was just flipping really through the book, and then I stopped right here and I remembered that, one, I have all of these pieces pre-cut. I love this card. This card was created by Chelsea, and I think I'm going to use some of these elements here. This is what I do when the event is going on. I will sit down, watch the video, and I'll take out my die cutting machine and I will die cut some of the pieces for the card, and then I put them in this book, and when I'm ready, I have some pre-made pieces to create my card. So we're going to take these ones out, and then I kept on going. Andrea did this really pretty card, and you know what? I have some little pieces in here. Let me pull these out. So I think I've narrowed it down. I think I'm going to use 2 cards today to create this scrapbook page. Let me bring in the 2 cards that I've selected. So this is some of the pieces that I have from this card. This was a fun fold card that Chelsea created. I really love the black and the pop of red. Love this card. And then Andrea created this beautiful card, and I really do love both. And I think that somehow I can mash these up and create a pretty fun layout. So let's go through some of the materials I'll be using today. I'm going to pull in this great embossing folder. This is the die that was used to create this card. So I'm going to pull this out, but I don't think I'll actually need it because I have my pieces. I'm going to reach in for my Spotlight on Nature dies, and these are the 2 stamp sets and dies that are going to be used for my layout today. I'm not sure if I'm going to do stamping, but I'm definitely going to use all of my pre-cut pieces to embellish a single page layout. Let's look at the paper selection, and although I really love this card, I didn't want to make a true black layout. And I really love this paper, and I'm so happy that it is back because honestly, I was hoarding it a tiny little bit. So I've ordered another pack, and I think that I have enough to do the project today. I love this red, and you can see here that it's been cut sparely, and I've got some greens and some blues, but I'm definitely going to concentrate on red. There's also some gold foil in this card, so gold is going to make an appearance. And of course, we're going to go to a black base. I'm going to do a frame style base. And this piece here is already cut down to 10 by 10. So we're going to put that right in the center. And you know what? I think I want to emboss my base. So I'm going to have to cut that down. And I'm going to bring in my embossing folder, and we're going to do strips. We're going to emboss them together, and it's going to mimic what you see right here on this card. So let's start with that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to emboss 4 strips. because it's really only on the outside, and I had to find a way to do the embossing and still be able to bring that into my embossing folder. I've gone ahead and I've cut all of these at 1 1/4. So I'm just going to bring these in. This is a 3D embossing folder. So on my machine, I'm going to bring that to 3D emboss, and I'm going to dial it back all the way to the loose side, which is 0. And I am going to add my piece. Now, I could probably add 2. You know what? I could probably add them all. Let's see if I want to be that adventurous. I think I can be. So we're going to line these up. And what I like about this plaid is that it's not straight. Even if I'm not perfectly straight, I think I'll be able to match it up at the end. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to emboss our pieces. This small detail will look really good on our layout. Because I'm going to extend what I'm doing here, I'm going to hang out my embossing folder just a tiny little bit because I want to have a continuous line as much as possible. I've got the folded edge at the top, and we're just going to run this through. Okay, let's take a look at that. Now, because I want to make this continuous, I think I'm going to do this part one at a time. And for this particular embossing folder, I'm going to line that back up. Remember I told you these lines weren't exactly straight? I've pushed my pre-emboss piece over the branding name of the embossing folder so I can see that. And I am going to add my top plate, and I'm not going to cover this piece. I think that by not covering the piece, it's going to do a really good embossing and it's going to look continuous. Let's take a look if this worked out. And, oh, it did. Look at that. It's a completely continuous piece on a 12-inch piece of cardstock. It's probably hard for you to see because it's black, but that really worked nicely. So let me show you that one more time. So I'm basically taking my pre-embossed piece and I'm trying to line it up with the bottom of the previous area that was embossed, and I'm kind of pushing that in just to make sure that it's hitting that line. So that is right in there. It's not moving. And what I like about it, and it's a happy accident, I'm able to push that in past that little label. So I'm going to put my piece on my plate. I'm going to go over this area, and we're going to try that again. Let's take a look. Oops. And yes, that works really, really nicely. I hope that you can see the emboss, but you don't even see a cut in pattern. And mainly because this is not a straight plaid, it's irregular, but it's perfect when you want to do 12-inch pieces. I'll go ahead and I'll do that for all 4 pieces, and then we'll build the foundation page. I'm going to bring in just a 12 by 12 base for this layout, and because I'm going to cover it all up, it doesn't matter what color you use. This is a retired color, and I'm going to build off of that. So hopefully the camera is picking up on the details. I'm not sure if it is, but that little trick with the embossing folder worked really, really nicely. So I was able to kind of line it up right above the branding strip, and I was able to emboss the entire 12-inch. Now, if you love little tidbits like this when you're making cards, this is why you want to join the 31 days. So let's build our foundation page, and we're going to have to cheat here a little bit. Do you remember when I told you that this piece will most likely shrink because of the embossing? And it does also because it's 12 inches long. Now I'm shy of about 1/8 of an inch. And even if I line these up at the bottom, and I take my cross piece and I go over, I'm going to have this weird little square that's going to show up. You probably can't really see it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to line up these two pieces right at the bottom, and I'm going to cut my page at the top. 1/8 of an inch is not going to make a difference. If anything, because I'm going to embellish and add a little bit of texture, it's going to make it easier just to slide into my page protector. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the two vertical pieces. I am going to add, and I think that liquid glue is probably the best solution here because you can wiggle this piece in place. So I'm just going to add a good amount, and I am going to line this up right snug at the bottom and on the edge. So let's take a look here if I did that correctly. And if you want to make sure you're lining your piece up, just run your finger along the edge. So I can run my finger clear on the edge, just like I would when I'm doing a card, and make sure that my piece is nice and flush. Now we're definitely going to do a little bit of ink distressing to blend in that white edge, but it's going to look great. Do you see this little awkward edge? And it's not even the same because the embossing folder didn't stretch out this piece the same way. I'm going to add the bottom one right here, and we're going to tack this down right at the bottom. Let me just trim off this edge and I'll add the last piece. All right, this is looking really good. I'm just going to ink with black my edges, my outside edges. I might actually ink everything up, but I think that this embossing folder is irregular enough that it will give you the sense that this is a continuous piece once we put that red piece right in the center. And there's going to be a lot of gold and glam. I don't think the focus is going to be on the corners of this layout. I think it's going to be focused on the actual page. So let me just ink this very quickly. And you could, if you wanted to, use a black base, and then you probably wouldn't have to cut anything down because the base would be the same color. Hindsight, maybe that's what I should have done. Maybe I should have used a black base for this scrapbook layout. Now that we have our border in place, let's bring in our beautiful red piece. Let's ink distress this piece. Okay, now that this has been inked, I think that it looks really great. And now it's just a case of bringing in my photos. So I think I'm going to go like this. And I do have the white border. I think it needs a black border. Let me bring in some black cardstock. Let me see here. Just a tiny little black border. Yes, I think that that's going to look great. So this is a true 4x6 with a white border. I'm going to cut this at, I just want it to be like 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut down a few mats. All right, let's bring in our photos now that they've been matted, and I think that that really accentuates those photos. I do like the white matte because the photos were a little bit dark. Now it's just a case of adding the embellishments, and my embellishments are going to come from these two cards. I really love these, and I'm going to treat these as embellishing clusters. So I think I'm going to add the circle right here at the bottom, but you know what? This card here also mimics a present. So I think I want to add 2 more pieces of gold foil and recreate that look on this layout. I've gone ahead and I've cut these 2 little strips to mimic a present. I think that that's going to look really good on this page. Let me see. These are like 1/2 inch. And I'm going to add one here at the 2-inch mark. And at the 2-inch mark. Oh yes, I love it. This is a lot of fun, and it's a play on this card. So we're going to bring back in our photos, and they're going to go right here. And then it's just a case of embellishing, and I'm going to keep on using these cards for my inspiration. I know that I have pieces here that are already cut, but I don't have my circle. So I'm going to cut out a circle. I'm going to put that circle right here at the bottom. And then I'm going to add my title and my journaling. I do want to add some journaling. So let me do the embellishment clusters. I'm going to get all of my pieces ready and we'll move on to the next step. All right, I've gone ahead and I've cut my circle and I've adhered down my pieces. I think I'm going to remove this off the mat so that you can see how pretty that border looks. I really do like that it's embossed. So let me bring back my photos and then we're going to see how we can finish this layout. I really love these 2 photos and I was able to convince them to, ham up and take some photos. So I know that I want to add some journaling and I want to recreate this cluster. Now in my little bags, I don't have all of the pieces. I guess I was in a production mode. Let me see what I have. I think this one here seems to cover all of the pieces. I have the candy cane. I have the little poinsettia done in 2 shades of red. Oh, that's going to look great. I have the sprigs. I think I was well on my way. Don't think I want to add my title here only because I feel that it's not going to be big enough. Let's see here, maybe I'll move just a few little things around to make it more balanced on this layout. I have a little holly leaf, 1, 2, and then I have these ones here. Now I think I'm going to cheat. This one is in the different green. Oh, but I have some here. I guess I've been picking through these little bags, but I know that I can add more because this is now going to be, I guess, the focal point. So I have this, and I do have a little bit more glitter and glam. So we're going to go this way. And I might trim them down a tiny little bit. Let me just pull on my pieces with my tweezers. But I just want to share with you how easy it is to build this cluster, especially when you have that card example to look at. So I'm going to add these here. And of course, we are going to fine tune this. I could even add this one. Let's not overdo it right away because I know that I have my little sled that somehow want to fit in. I have my focal cluster that's at the bottom, and I kind of worked that out, and I knew that I wanted to add some journaling, so I did do a small journaling box. Now I might do a tag. I might transform that into a little tag, or bring this down, something like that. So that creates a really awkward little spot, and I don't like that. So okay, we're going to move this over. And we're going to squish everything in the center. And I think I'm going to reprint this and I'm going to put it right here at the bottom. So I always like to do a little test. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from this corner. So I'm going to measure this out. So my text box can be as long as 5 inches. And it's probably going to be 2 lines only, but I think that that's going to look better. I don't want to create more of a little awkward little gap. I think that there is already one because of here, but I think it's okay with the photo. Or what if we bring our little sled? Oh, look at that. Maybe I can do that. So I can move this up and I can add this element. So I usually don't put all of the clustering in one area, but I think it's going to work here. So let me just drop these here, and I'm going to think about that for a little minute. But I like that it's filling out this little gap. Maybe I need to move my circle over and then have my little sled on the side, which elongates the cluster. You know what? I like that. I do like that quite a bit. I have to fine-tune my greenery. Now you can see that I'm stepping away a little bit from the design of the card because I'm trying to make it work for a scrapbook page. Now I do have a little bow. I didn't double up on it because I don't think I need to. And I can add this just like so. So we're going to add our little skates. I'm going to bring in a little bit of twine. I like this. I like this quite a bit. It filled out that awkward little gap. So that's why I didn't really commit on my photos. I knew they were going to be on an angle, but I also didn't want to create weird little nooks and crannies. I'm going to add my journaling here. And for my title, I knew my title was going to go up here. So I went ahead and I measured that area, and that's about a 5-inch. I created my title on my Cricut, and this is just a Cricut image. Magic of Christmas. Now, it's not really popping off the page. I think I need to go back to Cricut and do a white offset so that everything is just a little bit more separated from the page. I don't want to draw away from it, but let me cut another offset for this particular image in white, and we'll take a look on how it really defines the title and balances everything out. I have to fine-tune my journaling box. I thought I could squeeze it in beside the circle, but you know what? I think it's going to look quite nice here at the bottom. All right, let's take a look at my title now that I have an offset in white. And I think I like it. I like it because it ties in the border of the photos, the little skates. I've gone ahead and I've redone my journaling, and I'm not sure about this. I find that it really stands out quite a bit. It's taking away from this really pretty layout. So I'm going to let that simmer. I'm going to assemble these pieces, and I'm going to see what else I can do. I could try and put this on just a clear Avery little label. I think that that might work, but I think that the letters might get lost. I could use, this is just a very simple font. Maybe I could make that bold. I think that's going to be a better solution. Let me tack everything down. I'm going to go ahead, reprint my journaling on a clear label. All right, I'm in the home stretch, and I did pick through all 3 of my little bags, so I'm probably going to have to cut more pieces if I want to recreate this card. But let me show you where I'm at. Now, if I look at both of my card inspiration, and I'm trying to add this to a layout, I'm not going to be able to repeat exactly what's on my card. I did add a little bit of a rope for my sled. I think that that's a nice touch. I did spread these out a tiny little bit because I knew this wasn't going to be the spot for my title. And then I was kind of toying with these pieces and the bow, and it was just way too much going on. Like, this bow is super pretty on its own, and so is this poinsettia. So I don't want those two to fight. And then remember my journaling on white, way too white. So I've gone ahead. And I've used just the Avery shipping labels, and I'm going to just kind of expose one little corner of it. I've gone ahead and I've printed that just with black, but I did make it bold, and I'm hoping that it's going to be enough. I think it is. I'm going to start right at the edge, and I'm not sure if it's going to be as clear as I want it to be, because I don't think I've used this shipping stuff on a dark piece. Let me see here. Oh, probably leaving some of Mommy's fingerprints. All right. Well, let me see if I can burnish that in a tiny little bit. Usually I use this on white, not so much on a dark color like this red. And it does burnish nicely. So I'm going to push that in all the way. I'm going to use the back of my tool here. Now, this has been sitting on my desk for a little bit, so it's not bleeding out. And when I print these, I usually just use the regular setting. I think that looks okay. What do you think? Let's take a closer look. I think that that's much better than this. This was really taking away from the layout. So I just have to finish off. I really want to add the bow. These little sprigs are completely different, like they have a completely different vibe. I don't think I need them here. What if, oh yes, because remember we're trying to mimic a gift. What if we add these two? You see here, I'll put them point to point. What if we do this? We've got 3 points of interest, and then I can bring back some of my little sequins. So these are just self-adhesive little sequins. I like them because they don't have the little holes in the center, and I have them here. I like that up here. I don't think I'm going to add these. Let me just adhere these pieces down. So I am going to add them like this. We're just going to add a little tiny bit of glue on the tips. So we're going to add this here. I like the little pop of green. And then we're going to add a little bit of glue in back of that bow. Let me just add a few of these little sequins at the top. Further embellish this corner. Well, that worked out nicely. I'm going to do the same thing here at the bottom. And I think we're done. I think we're done. This is really great. I really love the way it turned out. It actually turned out better than I thought, because when you're starting off with cards, the elements are smaller, right? And then you kind of have to stretch them out, especially if you're doing 12 by 12. But I think that this worked out really, really nicely. I love that I was able to draw inspiration from a card, or 2 cards in this case, and create this pretty cool layout. Now, don't forget, this is a video collaboration with the creative design team. All week long, we've been posting inspirations that we drew from cards, but not just any cards. These cards are all from the 31 days of Christmas. And again, if you want to join us over there, I will link that information down below. We have tons of fun all month long, and it's all starting October 1st. I hope to see you there. Have yourself a fantastic day. Thank you for spending some of your creative time with me. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.